My name is Eliza. I am originally from the DC area. I, like probably many people that attended this conference, studied political science undergrad. And I then moved to New York City, and I worked in marketing for a little bit, and then worked at Jigsaw, which is a part of Alphabet that is not-for-profit, that basically designs tools to make the world a safer place is the mission statement. And we worked specifically in areas of censorship, DDoS attacks for journalists, cyberbullying, police brutality, just kind of a range of topics, and try to design tools that then will try to help those issue areas. And I focus mostly on censorship. And then I went and joined Pete's campaign in Indiana. I lived in South Bend for about 7 months. And while I was there, I worked in the digital ads team. I was working as kind of the interface between the ads team and the video team, road team, to get content and then make the ads. So I was doing a lot of scripting, a lot of production, and then passing it off to our ad traffickers. And then since then, I joined, and I'm now doing a little bit of consulting with ACRONYM to help put on this summit and a couple other projects. And generally, I love to cook and run and just be outside. So just to kind of get started at general UGC, especially when you look at it from a brand perspective outside of politics, some of the really big benefits of UGC is that it allows people to feel like they're part of the team. They're part of the project that you're running, and it gives them a voice in your brand, and it makes them feel like they're included. It also is less content creation for your own team. So you don't have to be making videos because people will be sending you the content. It extends the timeline, so you can kind of open-endedly request videos, and then you can have them trickle in over time, and it makes a long flight for this kind of program that you're running. It obviously brings a good amount of authenticity, and so it gives an authentic, unscripted voice, and it acts as a validator. In the political forum, it acts as a validator that there are other people that support your candidate. So you're not alone in supporting this person. You might see someone and say, I relate to that person in XYZ way, and if they support this person, then maybe I should also be supporting them, or maybe I should at least give them a second look. And then the videos that you receive can be utilized in paid and organic. So it kind of can be used in multiple different platforms. And Twitter is especially a good place. Obviously, you can't use Twitter for ads anymore, but you can use it organically. And so it gives you a lot of different methods of using this content. So the project that I'm going to be talking about is a project that I ran for the Pete campaign that we called, we initially called it 99 counties, and then we had some issues with legal, so that it changed into River to River, which again had some issues with NPR there, and so it ended up being Iowa for Pete, which we felt like we could own. And so to kind of give a basic overview, this started in November, and it was really built around the strategy because we were building a lot of our campaign on Iowa as the launching point, and really having a strong ground game, organizing strength, and really showing how we could mobilize in the community. It also was really focused on our other big part of our strategy, which was working in more rural and suburban areas to mobilize strength. And so it was kind of a visual and digital show of strength. And then we also, Iowa has an interesting situation where Iowa has 99 counties, which doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. Iowa's a small state, but it has a ton of counties. Iowa also, interestingly enough, has the most flip counties of any state in the US. So the most counties that voted for Obama and then Trump. 31 of the 99 counties voted for Obama and then Trump. And so it creates kind of just an interesting ground game to be playing within. And so we were really looking to go into those counties specifically. We were collecting the videos on Countable. This is a platform that makes UGC really easy. It'll also, one of the really good things about Countable, and one of the things that you need to remember if you are collecting any form of UGC, is that it takes away the legal issue. So people give their consent within the platform for you to use your content. If you are collecting videos without using a platform like this, you should be sure that you are asking people before they record what they're going to say, I consent to using this, so that you're kind of getting rid of any issues with legal, just so that you can then use it in paid advertisement. I was shocked personally when I first started running this program. I was like, oh, it's going to be easy isn't the word, but it was doable. And I just didn't appreciate how hard it is to get people to record themselves. This is something that you should know anytime you kind of want to start a UGC project. It's a big barrier to entry. People are not always comfortable recording themselves, or, people are fickle. So especially in a climate like Iowa, where they have so many candidates that they were looking at, they were like, what if I change my mind and I record a video for Pete and then I vote for someone else? So it was really hard to get people to end up recording. But I also found that then the people that were willing to record were people that were also willing to organize and volunteer. And so it was actually a good recruitment tactic for getting more volunteers as well. Or people would say, I'm not willing to record, but I'm willing to volunteer. And so you were kind of getting a lot of cross-pollination for using different teams. I ended up sending 15,000 texts, making 500 calls. And then we were having a lot of just in-person conversations on the street, kind of saying, are you willing to record this video? Another really important thing about this and about kind of general UGC is that you want to be sure that you are giving people the room to express themselves in their own voice, but also offering pretty strict guardrails. And so kind of giving people a prompt and telling them to practice it before they say it. Because we were getting a lot of videos that would end up being 3 minutes, and we can't really send a 3-minute video onto a platform because people aren't going to finish that. And so really kind of saying, here's what we need you to say your name, say where you're from, and then giving them a specific prompt to what you want them to say. So we said, answer the question, I'm caucusing for Pete because, but that can fit for anyone. I'm voting for so-and-so, or this campaign is important to me because, kind of having that simple line really kept people on message. And then we also would give people really light guidelines on kind of having it being well lit, being sure that they were holding the camera further away from their face. You get a lot of really close-up videos that make it hard to then put into any kind of square content. So being sure you kind of say, keep the camera away from your face. And then also just saying, we asked people to record for something about a minute at most. So ideally we were shooting for 30 seconds, but a minute was kind of our limitation. And that was something that ended up being really helpful because we slowly started to get the times down of the videos that we were collecting. And then the content that we were getting, it was used for this project, but it was also used in a bunch of other projects. So this content can be used, shared on Twitter, but then you can also put it in an ad later on that's separate. And so it was kind of a really good multi-purpose content. And then one thing to mention, and I know that presidential campaigns are different than a lot of local campaigns, and we had a full vetting team, but for the campaigns that are smaller, just doing a quick Google search, it doesn't have to be a deep vetting process, but just kind of giving a cursory, like, does this person check out? Are they posting inflammatory content? If they are, you wouldn't want to use them, because especially when you're using someone's face and they're, maybe someone sees their ad and then they see them on the street, they're going to link them with your campaign. And so just being sure that, like a gut check, I think everyone knows what would fit in their brand image or their campaign image, but just being sure you just do a real quick search on them, going to their Twitter, reading tweets, that kind of stuff. And so then for this project for 99 counties, the really interesting thing that was ended up being talked about a lot, even the For What It's Worth newsletter, was we then took the videos that we collected from the counties and we retargeted them back to the communities that they came from. So we put them on Facebook and then put them back into the zip codes that we were collecting them from. And the great thing about that is that it allows you to do a UGC program without spending a ton of money. Because you're kind of just doing it in a smaller population. It's a lower reach, but it's higher engagement because you're really reaching the people that you were trying to address by collecting it from that community. And we were seeing really great results from people that were saying, oh, that's my neighbor. Oh, I know them. And it was really fun because you were saying, oh, like, if my neighbor actually really likes Pete, maybe I should like Pete, or maybe I should caucus for Pete. And it told them that, especially because the caucus is such a unique style of voting, they knew that when they went to caucus, they would see that person in the Pete corner. And so it created this real kind of feedback loop. And we were then able to do it. We did it in a 2-week flight right before caucus day. And so if you're doing UGC, especially if you're doing UGC that is directly driven towards I'm voting for, doing it leading up to an election day will kind of push that momentum into the day. And so this was one of the last kind of ads that we ended up pushing in the days leading up. But the thing that you should know, and the thing that is generally agreed upon, is that UGC is not as clear on performance metrics because it is a persuasion campaign. And so people aren't necessarily going to be always clicking through, but it's more of a validator. So it's understanding that the video maybe isn't, our Pete videos where it's just his face, we're always going to be performing a little bit better than your neighbor, but you seeing your neighbor is just an additional metric, and it's giving you something different than the traditional ad was giving you. It also, many people that have visited with Google or Facebook, one of the first things that they'll say is ads that perform the best are ones that don't look like political ads. And these are kind of that direct example. These ads don't look like traditional political ads. They aren't a DTC of your candidate. They are people from your community. And so it's really allowing people ended up completing videos a lot more than some of our more traditional looking ads, because it took them longer to figure out what was going on. And so once they kind of realized, oh, this is something for Pete and this is for my community, it really was a great way to kind of move forward and get higher completion rates from people. We also saw a lot of great responses from organizers and volunteers who would say how excited they were to be included in an ad, and really, again, going back to the point of feeling like they're a part of the team. And the results of this were, we ended up getting 91 of the 99 counties. We ended up trafficking over 100 ads. It's back into the communities they were coming from. We ended up winning more than half of we got a video from every Trump county, all 31. We ended up winning more than half of the Trump counties. Pete was viable in more counties than any other candidate was viable in. And then we repurposed this strategy in New Hampshire and Super Tuesday states. And we also created an ad around veterans with countable videos that we had collected. So we kind of saw a really broad reach in terms of this program, and something that we felt was replicable in other states and other demos. So it can go beyond just a state. We were doing veterans, and that was something that we found to be also really successful in the community of veterans saying, I was a veteran, I also support Pete. And that was another narrative that we pushed. And so I have two examples. The first is an example of one of the ads that we collected. And I'll just play this one first.
I'm Alvin Coburnis, a Worth County farmer. I live on a Century farm, same family for over 100 years. And I think one of the main things I like about Pete is I listened to him give a speech, and he talked about his energy and his climate. And I'm a corn producer, and ethanol is a big thing with me. And if he wouldn't, like our current administration has oil men running the EPA, we need people that understand climate so that we work for all the farmers that grow corn in the whole Midwest. And that's really one of the main things I want Pete to straighten out is the EPA and go to work for Iowa farmers.
So I included that one because that's a really authentic video to the voice of a lot of Iowans. And it's also someone that, to be candid, you might not think would be a Pete supporter when you see them on the street. And he was someone who ended up, after recording this video, started getting really involved in volunteering. So he's kind of a great example of how the video and filming UGC launches someone into kind of the sphere of your volunteering and the sphere of your campaign. And beyond that, it's very authentic. He is voicing why Pete has resonated with him. And what was really interesting, and what's really interesting for any campaign that's collecting UGC, is you can actually see what's resonating with people. So across the board, when we were collecting videos, we found that certain messages people were repeating over and over again. They were saying Pete felt fresh. They were saying Pete was giving them hope. And then these were messages that we could put to other ads. So, it allows you to kind of hone a message that really is connecting with the most people. And, it gives you also, we can't script what he said. He said that, and it feels really from the heart. And so the second example that I want to show is the usage of the content that we collected in an advertisement that wasn't for the 99 Counties project. This was our closing advertisement that we launched the night before the caucus, and so, or 2 nights before the caucus. So it was kind of the final closing message that we had.
When this campaign started, we didn't know where it would take us, but we knew where we wanted to go.
So Iowa, are you ready to bring this country together?
The old style of politics is broken.
Keep on dividing.
We can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results.
We are obliged to serve the poor and heal the sick and clothe the naked and welcome the stranger. Stranger, by the way, being another word for immigrant. What we're seeing right now in the White House is the opposite.
There's hunger for a new kind of politics, defined by belonging, boldness, action.
I believe in Pete because of what he stands for.
I believe that he can bring us together rather than dividing us.
Pete believes that we should pay teachers like doctors and respect them like soldiers.
And February 3rd is our shot to turn the page to what comes next.
So you can see in there are 3 videos that were collected from Iowans, and those are really just things that they fit so perfectly within the narrative that we scripted for the VO, but bring kind of the voices of Iowans into the video. And so it was an example of how we had this separate program, the 99 Counties program, but then we were able to pull the content that we were getting from there into other ads that were then launched. And that was obviously one of our highest performing ads, and one of the ads we put the most money behind because it was our closing message that I think was really improved because of the UGC that we had collected, and that brought kind of a new face into the narrative. And so for the last part of this, I really want to kind of just have a Q&A, but really also a conversation.